This is my favorite part about dense sowing the tomatoes, is you get a little tomato carpet you could just kind of ASMR. So I sowed half of this tray with some tomatoes that are full-size tomatoes, you know, the vines that get 10, 15, 12, whatever feet tall. And half of this tray is dwarfing tomatoes. And you can already see the difference in their vigor. If I do this, see, these are really short, and then boop, they get really tall. I mean, not really tall, they're only about 4 inches at this point. But the dwarfing tomatoes are only maybe 2 inches. They're starting to get full-size leaves, real leaves. These are beyond the cotyledons, so if I were to push these back, you can see the cotyledons are these two small leaf-looking things, but they're not actually leaves, they're just the first photosynthetic tissues that come out of the seed. And then the true leaves have these fuzzies on them, and that's a tomato leaf. Some tomato leaves are round like this one, and then some have a little glove shape like this one. And then some have a silvery or fur shape. If I could find one in here that kind of has a thinner shape like this one. See, it's difficult to see, but it's kind of pointed and small and spindly. It just depends, you know, different tomatoes have different leaf shapes. A lot of the dwarfs end up having potato leaves, which is kind of cool because they look really nice. And they're just more dense and have broader foliage that tends to soak up the sun a little bit better. But these are the tomatoes, and I'm going to have to pot these up pretty soon. I'm going to try and keep them in here for maybe another week before I put them out. I was going to transplant them this weekend, but I feel like they can use a little bit more time. I started tugging at the individual pots and not really coming out, so I'm going to give them some more time. But interesting, right? If I lift these up, you can see the roots are starting to make their way to the bottom, and they're air pruning out of there, which is exactly what these pots are supposed to be doing. So I'm going to give that time, let them branch out a little bit more, so it's just going to be easier for me to pot them up. This is an alpine strawberry variety called Reine de Vallée, which translates to Queen of the Valley. There's probably about, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 seeds inside of here, so you're looking at maybe 600 to 800 actual strawberry plants in the future that I'm going to be potting up. Once the tomatoes are out of these trays, I'll be potting these up for fall sale. It looks like some of the pawpaw stubs are actually starting to produce their first leaves. I think it's a little weird looking, but hopefully it ends up recovering. My nicest of all of them, my nicest seedling is this one here. It's got really big quilted leaves, and it's growing very healthy tissue. The rest of them are still popping up, or sometimes a seed gets caught in the top. I'm sure next year I'm going to try to plant them a little bit deeper so that doesn't happen, but sometimes they even come up with the seed stuck in the soil, and then they still don't have a tip like this one. So they're just going to end up sprouting leaves from their stem a little bit later. A little issue that I had with some of these pepper plants, okay, I don't know if you can really tell, but one of these is not like the others. Yeah, it's this one. So I did a little photo ID on this, and I kind of had a suspicion. This is probably a tomatillo. It might be a ground cherry, but it's definitely not a pepper. When it was really small, I was thinking maybe this was like a pubescens or something, because sometimes they have the hairy stems like they do. But this does not look like a pepper plant at all. I'm sure in the seeds that I bought, just one of them got mixed up somehow, and the seeds look really similar, especially when you're dumping them into a mass sow patch. So there's a couple of those throughout these cells, so I have a little bit of loss. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. So maybe one of the seed packets got mixed up with ground cherry or tomatillo. I'm going to grow them out just to see what they're like. I don't really know actually what this is. And I've always wanted to grow tomatillo anyways, but I'm just not going to sell them as a pepper plant because they're not pepper plants. So I finally got my grow bags in. I ordered them from an online shop called 247 Garden. They had pretty reasonable prices for large amounts of grow bags. And an interesting thing about these grow bags, I couldn't find another brand that was doing this. Right? So they're tall, they got a nice base on them. Are these as nice as the root trappers? Absolutely not. You know, the root trappers have that spray on the outside that keeps the water in a little bit. But because I'm going to be planting so many of these and they're going to be kind of right next to each other, I actually don't think that the spray is going to help all that much, especially if there's sidewall contact between the bags. The spray coating on the root trapper bags might actually hold too much water. So I'm going to try and aid the evaporation with fabric sides and see how that works this year. But something really, really cool, okay? Check this out. When you're transplanting, all you got to do is peel the Velcro, and there you go. You could invert your plant, take all the roots out. Now I know it seems like a little weird, like why would I need to do that? But for the trees, a lot of people have a hard time getting them out of root makers or the root trapper bags or any other grow bags. But if the side comes undone, then it should be kind of easy to transplant them when you actually want to plant them out. So this is the 2-gallon one. I also have 1-gallon ones here. Depending on the size of the plant, like the pawpaws, I might put in the 1 gallons because the roots should fill this out within a year. If they end up filling it out way sooner than I think, then I can always transplant them from the 1 gallon to the 2 gallon. But most of them are going to go in the 1 gallon. Also, they had comically large ones. So this is a 20-gallon grow bag. They had 100-gallon ones, and I was really tempted to just get one to see how stupidly large it was. But these big 20-gallon ones will be pretty good. I'm going to actually use them as air prune beds. So instead of building out a bunch of air prune beds, I'll fill these about halfway. They have this little plastic siding here, which might end up, becoming deteriorated in a couple seasons, but it just seemed like a little bit of an easier solution than having to build out a bunch of different boxes. Also some exciting stuff that came in through the mail, and this is going to be a really exciting month or so of just stuff coming into the mail. I ordered some sticks. Who could be excited about a stick? I'm like a dog. I ordered some sticks of elderberry. On Etsy, you can find a bunch of people selling them. I ordered mine from a store called Elder Frost, and he sent me, these were excellently packaged. Really shout out to him. If you're looking for elderberry cuttings, go to his store. These are nice size sticks here. I'm going to try and root them out. The problem with my elderberry, and the reason I didn't do cuttings, is because I think they're just seedlings. I don't actually know what variety they are, but these are the varieties that I got. I got Scotia and Bob Gordon. Both of those are supposed to be really productive, good sized berries, pretty sweet. The cool thing about Bob Gordon is, though, once it creates the berries, they kind of hang upside down, which is a really unique trait. It kind of protects them from the birds. So you need two in order to, cross-pollinate and produce a good batch of berries. They say that some are kind of self-pollinating in a limited amount, but realistically you should have two if you're trying to get any production out of them. So I'll be selling those in the fall as well, once I root them out. Maybe somebody will actually want a couple sticks in the spring or in the middle of summer, I have no idea. I'm going to put them in just the 1 gallon root bags as well once I root these out, and I can know which ones are alive and which ones are dead. I'll make a video on how to root these out. I'm going to try a couple different methods. I'll compare them. Some people just put them in water. Some people put them in a moist media like sand. I'm going to try them both, see which one works. Anyways, that's all that's new this week. I'll keep you guys posted on some grafting stuff I'm going to be doing pretty soon, and of course all the rooting and propagation stuff that I'm going to be trying out. I do have the woodland strawberries in the works too. I've awakened some out of dormancy, and I put them inside of an arrow garden. And the last time I did that, they turned from 1 plant into 30 in about a month. So I'm really excited to be planting some of those out too. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.